This is the ultimate question. What phone should I buy? Not everyone has $1,000 to spend on a phone, but at less than $350, this might be one of the best choices in its class. But let's talk about it first. Should you buy the Samsung S10e in 2021? Hello everyone, this is Matt from Real World Review. Check out the social media listed above if you want to talk tech, and subscribe if you want to continue watching tech. Let's get started. This flat 5.8-inch flexible OLED screen has a 1080p resolution, along with a hole in the top right for the front camera. Besides that, the front is pretty much all screen, something that was refreshing during the 2019 release. At 5.8 inches, the pixel density isn't that bad at 438 pixels per inch, 20 pixels lower than the iPhone 12 Pro Max. As for the uses of the screen, you don't really run into any issues besides the size, and that's if this feels like a small screen to you. YouTube videos look nice, and the overall viewing experience of any content is above average, giving us vibrant and bright colors, as expected by a somewhat flagship Samsung phone. The only issue is the brightness, which doesn't really turn out to be the worst, but it does max out at about 600 nits. But that's about it. You get the usual, the always-on display, double tap to wake and lock, finished bezels and chin. The phone does lack the on-screen fingerprint scanner, but some may say that the side-mounted scanner is a better option, like I do. Overall, the only issue you might actually have with the screen is a weird hole punch, which gets in the way every once in a while. The main reason people want this phone is for its size, which is small and big. It's no iPhone 12 mini, but it is still small and lightweight as well, at 150 grams, making it one of the lightest compact flagship phones, prior to the iPhone 12 mini. This makes adding a case to this phone less of a chore because of its size, and it's something that I do recommend doing. The phone has glass on the front and back, with an aluminum frame in the middle. The front is Gorilla Glass 6, while the back is Gorilla Glass 5, which seems strange, but most of the time the screen cracks before the back does, so take that how you want. There is a slight camera bump on the back, but it is flat and long, so it shouldn't really cause any issues. As you can see, I do have a tempered glass screen protector on this phone, but these screens are fairly durable, as well as the rest of the phone. I do see more people breaking the S10 and S10 Plus screens rather than the S10e. As for the outside of the phone, the right side is where the high-up power button is, but it is high up because it's a fingerprint scanner power button duo, which works pretty well. The left side is where the volume and Bixby buttons are, the latter being a personal assistant that I often ignore. The top is where the SIM and SD cards go, allowing for more storage than the Samsung S21 Ultra can hold. At the bottom we get the USB-C 3.1 port as well as a second loudspeaker, making a stereo speaker set that sounds pretty good. Then there is a headset jack on the phone, meaning that this is one of the last compact flagship phones that accepts wired headphones, if not the last. Now the size generally means that there will be some shortcomings, and that's partially true on this phone, but not for the worst. This phone shares lots of similar hardware to the normal S10, like an OLED screen, fast wireless charging, as well as reverse power share, and the processor, to name a few. This phone is powered by the Snapdragon 855 chip with 6GB of RAM, which proves to both work well together, even though 8GB or higher is found in the S10 and newer. This phone comes with 128GB of storage, with the option of adding more memory through that memory card slot that we talked about earlier. What powers the phone is a 3100 mAh battery and Android 11, the latter which was recently released. The former allows for the phone to last throughout the day, but makes you question whether it's big enough for wireless power charging, other than using it for small devices. It is nice to see that Samsung didn't just drop this feature because of the price. Also, you do get fast wireless charging maxing out at about 12 watts, and fast wired charging maxing out at about 15 watts. This phone is IP68 water resistant up to 1.5 meters for half an hour, though I would never recommend actually doing that. Honestly, for being somewhat of a budget phone, the internal hardware has held up really well, giving me little to no lag or glitches during even heavy usage. The last thing we have is a camera setup, and this, with the exception of maybe the iPhone 11, is the best, cheapest camera setup that you can buy for this price at least. You have the same cameras as the Samsung S10, however the telephoto sensor has been omitted on the S10e. This means that you get a front focusable 10 megapixel camera, and then on the back we have a 12 megapixel wide angle sensor, as well as a 16 megapixel ultra wide sensor. Using any camera results in full and vibrant shots, whether we're talking about day or night shots, which is common for most Samsung flagship phones nowadays. Now the ultra-wide isn't always going to be as good as a standard wide-angle sensor because of that dual aperture that sensor has, but there are different modes to help the sensor take amazing shots. My favorite is the fact that you get 4K at 60 frames per second on the back and front camera, the latter which was actually given with a software update. However, 4K 60 frames per second video is locked to the normal sensor and not the wide angle sensor. But the good news is the rear camera does have OIS, which means everything will be stabilized optically rather than digitally. And like I said, the front camera is focusable, making portrait shots a little bit better as well as normal shots. On the front camera, you get 4K 60 frames per second as well. You don't get optical image stabilization like front camera, but it does focus. It focuses well on its own, but not always the best when you do it manually. But sometimes. And this definitely makes it a lot easier and a lot nicer for people who are looking for phones to vlog on. Like I said, this was included in a software update, and at the $300 to $400 price tag, this actually makes it a really good phone. Possibly the cheapest 4K 60 phone that you can get, at least for the front camera. Sure, the telephoto is missing, but again, the standard sensor is very capable. Overall, this device is an amazing budget flagship phone. I guess that's what we can call it now. Now, should you buy this phone? Absolutely. There are examples of this phone being listed at a little over $300 in good condition models, which modern day mid-range phones will exceed that price for worse specs. I would still jump for the S10 for better battery life and a slightly better screen, but this S10 is perfect for those that want a compact phone or a cheaper device that just works, and this one does it all. And that's my review of the S10e, the economy flagship. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below, and as always, thanks for watching.